Finally getting around to pulling out the boat. It has been sitting because with COVID, I ended up booking a bunch of chores and household chores mostly. Yeah, where are these webs coming from? Oh my gosh, it's been too long. Birds have been perching over on my shield and crapping on it. At any rate, few little chores to do. Spiders have been making their little cocoon nests under my Windows ledge. Oh, okay, there we go. So, it is, what's the date? It is June 10th, I think. So, it's high time. We would have been out back in May already, but it is just what it is. Oh, there's a bee's nest up there. Okay. Well, a bee certainly. Oh, there's a wasp nest. Let's see. That might be something I'd take care of before I get too carried away. Oh, there it is. Helps if I point in the right spot. So they're not going to be too happy with me, but I'll smoke them out. I love nature, but I have no real patience for wasps. They're just abusive to the bees anyway, and other bugs, of course. I'm sure they have their place, but not right under where I'm apt to work and wanting to bite me. No siree. So she's out of the shed, and some things to be done. I banged some rocks here, nothing serious, but chip, you know, the outer layer, so a little epoxy work there, and I bump and ground there a bit, but that's just scratches actually. That's not anything serious, but I'll still epoxy coat it and repaint that. Let's see, I think I did something over here too. More rock grinding, and again, you don't see it. It's not serious. It's like just surface scuffs. The glass is all there, still solid. So, all good. And this, if you wonder, that was a rock bank that I clipped mostly. This took the brunt of it, and that's an ash strip, and it's because the rear end slips as it kind of, you know, fishtails along as you drive, and that's normal for boats, or slow boats anyways. And so I know darn well the butt end will swing around, so hence I put these strips on the back, knowing I'm going to get close and knowing I'm going to hit stuff, because it's one of my favorite things to do, to be honest. Well, not that I want to hit stuff. My favorite things to do is getting in close and into the nooks and crannies and stuff, and then inevitably you hit something. And you can see from sitting for the winter a bit of mildew on the varnish. Now that'll just scrub off, and I haven't varnished this thing since it was built, so I'll probably delay my season a little bit more and go around and just clean everything up, make myself a chore list and fix everything and give it a whole new coat of varnish, I think. And no, I'm not a 3 coats. I think, what's this have? This has the epoxy seal and then 2 coats of varnish. And again, you see some mildew on the door frame there, and it'll come off. D plans to do some scrubbing, but I no doubt an abrasive scrubber with some Comet or something will take that off. The paint's held up not too badly, considering my van, quite frankly, has a bit of an oil leak, and it's rather costly to take the whole thing apart and replace the gasket. So it's not that bad, but you can sort of see little speckles of what looks like oil droplets on it, and the poor boat running behind, as it splatters up, it I guess hits it in some road grime. Now, one thing I am tempted, I'm always repairing this area here because of this. You can't get, well, I guess you can, but I'm just lazy and keep the existing trailer, and I've cloth covered it, but it inevitably wears and tears, and it's not down past the fiberglass or anything, but it takes the paint off and scuffs it and turns it black, and I keep just giving it a sand and repainting. It's looking a little bumpy there because of some of that, but at any rate, and I never said I do golden platter jobs. I do let's get the heck out in the water and enjoy jobs. And you can see the ash rail on the face here gets a lot of abuse, so that needs a bit sanding and a new coat. And the deck's a complete mess. You'll like that. D hates that I show you this stuff. And the Lexan needs cleaning, and it's not held up badly. I did not communicate well enough the proper maintenance, and I actually didn't understand initially when we got Lexan. So at first we were a little more abrasive than we should be. Ideally, you should wash these with just Windex and soft cloth. Lots of Windex and a soft cloth, or better yet, there's particular sponges, not the word, paper towel that you can buy that's super soft, and throw them out after every other window or so. As soon as you get any grit on it, you got to keep in mind you're scratching the window. So they're not bad, but I also abuse because I push through trees, so you can see lines along, and that's probably a tree branch alongside a creek. Yeah, so a little work here and there. I have to finish setting up my wood stove inside. It's roughed in. I don't know, it's pretty bright out here to get you to see inside. Pretty tough, I think. So it's roughed in, but it needs some brackets for the chimneys. And I'm just hammering out copper pipe and then going to curve it. And make brackets to clamp all the joints with a few metal screws. And then it is ready. Oh, a little bit more shielding here and there. I have the carpet I made. Anyway, I'm ranting, but so what? Oh yeah, this corner got bumped a bit too. No biggie. All just really nothing gouging. Just took the paint off. And corners, all right. A comment about the flat bow. Some people say, well, why didn't you taper in the bow? Why? Listen, I'm really good with curves because I'm actually an industrial woodworker. Sounds all fancy and whatnot, but basically I'm a lot self-taught. I just do my own thing, and I've worked by myself a lot. So enough about me. But curves are not so hard for me. But in the plans, I figured curves would defeat a few people. So really, as far as the practicality of this boat, you don't need curves. The corners are fine. They're very solid. The bow is simple to do. This would actually be really easy to curve the bow out and around. That would be so simple to do. There was extra material. Everything could have been done. Again, I avoided it. Now I don't regret avoiding it at all, because we actually dock straight on. This full 8 feet, flat on a dock with, bumpers down and tie straight. It makes it so easy to come into a dock where you're just nosing up and you're not trying to side into it. And then we're only occupying 8 feet. We're only 17 feet long. So like there are cabin cruisers that are 17 feet wide. So literally we've had people try to shush us off a dock saying there's no room. And we come straight in between people because nobody thinks to do that. So the flat bow actually has turned out to be pretty good. We get some slapping on the bow, no big deal, in bigger waves, but really it's no big deal. This ledger here, or the front tow rail, whatever you call it, rub rail, it is angled at the bottom. So actually when a wave comes up, it comes up and it shoots out. We get a little blowback from the from spray if we're going into the wind. But the flat bow works great, and you don't have to increase your length for a waste of, it doesn't do you that much. So I'm not unhappy with flat bow. The only thing I might consider, and I'm thinking of putting one on Crow because it just would be so cool is like a cop car crash bar, you know, and have it double as a boarding ladder. I think that would be cool. But I have that ladder, so I'm probably not going to do it here. I might add some plate of something here this year, since I'm kind of doing fancy stuff, right? Yeah, that's about it for now. How's the underneath looking? You might want to see. Oh, pretty good, eh? And we've been up on rocks. We centered out a stump down the middle here, and we were teetering on top of it. We hit it full speed. That far runner, aluminum runner, that cap's on, got tore off when I smashed on another rock. So the bottom line, while we're looking at the bottom of the boat, there's this bit of paint off, but you can see the other paint is still there. So nothing, you're seeing white primer there, but the bottom line of the bottom boat, I sort of like that line. The bottom of the boat is faring up very, very well. It's very strong. It has frames along here, 2 full-length frames, 28 inches apart. So it really is stiff, it's solid, and it can handle abuse. And that's it. Oh, I don't have my pad-eye. Is that what you call this? I don't have my U-bolt up on the bow. I have it underneath. And I like it that way. I figure it's another thing to hit something first before it goes down along the bottom. And plus this pulls it along on the large panel, which is backed and reinforced like crazy, rather than trying to pull this bow panel, which is only really connected. This bow panel is stitching glued to the bottom panel, but still, you know, it's a smaller panel. This is a full 4x8 sheet that runs all the way back. Good luck ripping that thing out. That'll be there forever. And at rest, it clears the water line, so if ever reason it does get a little loose, it's not going to cause you no harm. No water really will ever come in if the bolts get a little loose, but you can get up in front and inspect that if you want. Anything else you would like to ask, please leave it in the comments. I do check them out, although sometimes I notice I don't get a notification that I got a comment. Every once in a while, a blue moon. This last year ended up being kind of like a bumper because we were going to a waterfall, and I wanted to get right up close, but it was super dry water, and I didn't realize I had my motor up, so reverse doesn't work. So normally I'm in a habit of coming in and then just reversing and coming to a stop and gently touch on the rock. This time, reverse didn't work because the motor kicked up, and this beastie took the brunt of it. So one thing, it's now a little loose. So what I got to do is double check. If these screws are not spinning, that means it's still seated well in the wood because I used epoxy and everything. And then that just means that the metal around the bolts and screws, which are bolts, threaded screws, has loosened because I hit it so hard. And it saved the boat, so I'm quite happy. And we run with this down like this all the time because it doesn't do no harm, and when we come close to shore, we just use it like a stairs to go down, just a step, and if we're in the water, then we drop the whole thing. So yeah, I'll check that. It shouldn't obviously be loose, but I'm not seeing the bolts move at all. Yeah. So I suspect, like I say, that last year, that jar, I'm not going to go through the trouble. I imagine getting these bolts out, it would be hellish. Climbing under, somehow clamping the nuts, and trying to unthread them through and pop them through an epoxied hole where they're no doubt well seated. So I'll just keep an eye out if I see any water damage coming out on the sides here. So far there's nothing. Although it looks, well, I don't know, that is a bit of varnish lifting there. So it's possible some moisture got under there, but it's also possible that was just a scratch, and you know, this is, like I say, this is sixth season? You guys tell me. 2013 was the first time I had it in the water. So that would be, this is our seventh year. with the boat. So, woohoo! Yeah. I don't know. I'm just now boring you, but taking one last look. The motor has held up well. I should check the bottom end oil. Finally, I'm getting older. I find when you get older, you start thinking of everything that can go wrong. When you're younger, you just kind of go for it, and when it goes wrong, you deal with it. But so I've only ever kept this motor, but we're going on some pretty long trips, and it happened that Crow needed a motor for now. I'm working on electric for it, but it needed a motor, so we ended up. Somebody gave me this bracket, which the spring is gone, so it was hellish to lift up. So I've rigged this, which still needs some adjustment, but basically this was a cheap. I got to find the truckers. The trucker ones are much better. This one came from the store, and I was suspicious buying it even when I got it at the store. So it's stretched out a bit, so the initial tension isn't on it as it once was. But that was my jury rig, which I did it on Crow. I have a motor bracket on Crow as well, which I hate because Crow wasn't really designed to have an outboard hanging off the back. Hence, I'm working on the electric. At any rate, we take the 4-horse as a spare motor for this in case. And, you know, it just gives Dee a little more relax. Me, my attitude is if worst case scenario and the motor quit, I'd wait for a good wind and you know, set up a huge umbrella. And I'm tempted to put a square sail arrangement. I've got two 10-foot oars in the boat. So I'm waiting for the right metal tubing to come along that the oar kind of can seat in. And then I'll bolt the tubing on the front upper section of the cabin. And that with a couple stays, I should be able to use the second oar as a yard and just throw up a big square sail and stand on the back here with two lines off the corners of the sail and kind of kite sail my way along is my thinking. Downwind mostly. A crosswind would not be hard. To add a lee board would not be hard at all. And then you could probably do crosswind work, at least on a reach perhaps. Point being is when the wind's right, you could just leisurely tie your sails off and you're going in the same direction and carry on. Kind of be funky, I think. But back to having, so me, that's what I do. I just rig something and take my time, and if it took me 3-4 extra days to get home, fine. But Dee, ooh, it would be a catastrophe. so no, it ain't happening the way I picture it. So now the second motor kind of makes her feel more comfortable, and therefore she's more likely to go out with me because she's a nice lady to have around. And you know, at the end of the day, if your partner is not comfortable, less likely you're going to get out, right? Okay, well, enough. Let's start. I'm going to start just by making lists. Let's sit around the boat and think on it and draw up a list of jobs to do.